Hey, everybody, Dr. LeGrand here. And today we are going to be talking about specifically when it comes to ADHD burnout. So, if you're dealing with ADHD burnout, let me know because I'm going to be talking about the supplements that help my patients and even myself included with my own ADHD with ADHD burnout. So, I want to give three different scenarios that I just see collectively with my patients that tend to need help with. And so let me know if you're in each one of these different scenarios and doing a case study deep dive in this and explaining which supplements help with this specific scenario. So scenario number one, let me know in the chat if this is you. If obviously you have ADHD burnout, but the medications have worked for you, but still you feel stressed, overwhelmed, and feel something is lacking. Let me know in the chat because if that's you, then this is for you. Because what we have to look at is if that's the case, you're taking medication, and typically that's going to be the case of, okay, we're targeting dopamine, but what if it's not just dopamine? What if there's other things that are being missed? And so with this patient, he had these same symptoms, was taking medications. And when we did some testing to investigate even further, is what we found was that it wasn't just dopamine that was low. There was also phenylethylamine levels were low, tyramine levels were low, and norepinephrine levels were low, epinephrine levels were low. Also, histamine levels were low, taurine levels were low, as well as glutamate levels were low, and even also glycine and GABA. So a lot of things were low still. So it's like, what do we got to do here in order to help improve the ADHD burnout? Because if these are all missing, that means the medication isn't helping these areas. And that's where we need to support it. So the thing that you need to understand about medication is it's a stimulant that turns on the faucet, right? Your dopamine faucet, norepinephrine faucet, it's dumping it. But what if there's not enough dopamine to come out of the faucet? We need to look at things that help make the dopamine, right? And that's what was the case for this person. And so we need to supplement that so that there is enough to to dump out to be able to help increase dopamine levels. So with this case, a few things. Obviously, we needed to address the tyrosine low situation. So obviously adding L-tyrosine in there. We needed to address the low phenylethylamine levels, which is an excitatory neurotransmitter, which is responsible for focus, motivation, and drive as well. So we use an amino acid known as DL-phenylalanine that helps not only with the excitatory neurotransmitter, but it also does help with tyrosine and eventually improving dopamine. Another big one is L-theanine, which directly does help improve dopamine and also helping with norepinephrine and epinephrine as well. Now, the other thing that we did find is that there were certain B vitamins that were low. So we wanted to add B complex because B vitamins are responsible for helping building and modulating neurotransmitters throughout the whole process. So we want to make sure that that is covered as well. Dopa Boost has L-Dopa in it. I'm getting really messy here. Sorry about that. But this is L-Dopa right here. It helps make dopamine. But it also does have a few other things in here, like also N-acetyltyrosine to help improve those levels. You also did see that his glycine levels were low. So I didn't put it here, but we added glycine. And also his GABA levels were low. And also L-glutamine, which helps a lot with regulating stress, especially when you feel that ADHD burnout. If these levels are low, just like this person was right here, then we got to supplement for that. And that it was a big contributing factor to his ADHD burnout. So once we did that, this made a huge difference, not only to helping improve his focus, but also the overwhelm and stress. He was able to just feel at peace, have that clear, focused mind, able to function not only at work, but also at home, be more present. Because all those things were missing. The stimulant was just turning on the faucet, but not producing dopamine and producing all these different things that help make dopamine. And that's what was needed in order to have consistency to not feel that constant overwhelm and burnout state. Okay. So now, just real quick, if you are wanting my help on this to really dive into your situation, then in the description below, you can actually book an ADHD focused diagnostic session where we dive in deep, giving you a roadmap of what labs we need to implement and what supplementation and helping you with this whole process. So if you want that, You can get that in the description below. Now, case scenario number 2. Let me know in the chat if this is you, if you are in this situation where you are scenario number 2, where you have ADHD burnout. Medications have not worked for you, though. Okay. And you still feel more stressed and tired. Let me know in the chat if that is you. Because in this case, there's also other things that could be missing and why the medication is not working. And so, usually, when this is happening, it's because you're not needing the medication because dopamine levels are too high. So, just like this patient, the dopamine levels were too high. Also, um, norepinephrine levels were too high. So, it's making things worse. So, that's just not a good situation. So, sometimes medication can make it where it's too much, where it's dumping too much, opening up the faucets too much. And so, we have to really balance that out. But also, his serotonin levels were too high. So, he's dealing with like serotonin syndrome, which is just not a good situation to be in, right? Also, his GABA levels were too high. So, this is why he was feeling very stressed and tired and agitated. Okay. But there was still this that was low, phenylethylamine, which is, like I said, is an excitatory neurotransmitter that deals with focus, motivation, drive, a lot of different things you experience with ADHD. So the wrong thing was being targeted here. That's why. Also, his glycine levels were low, histamine levels were low. So we needed to address that. And so in that case, this is what we need to do as far as his supplement stack. And 2 things. One, rhodiola and L-theanine both help lower dopamine, norepinephrine, as well as serotonin. It helps lower that down. Now you might have been, hey, Dr. Grant, I thought you said L-theanine helps increase it. It does. It does both. It's a great neutralizer. So L-theanine is a great neutralizer, whether it's high or low. That's why I like using it. Rhodiola helps lower it down. So that's what we had to implement. Obviously, we had to implement also D-L-phenylalanine, as you know, because this was low, phenylethylamine. So we needed to support that to improve those levels. And his B vitamin levels were low. And a lot of times what we do find is when especially dopamine and norepinephrine are too high, it's because vitamin B3, which you see here, helps break it down. So we had to kind of implement that to kind of break down the process. So B vitamins, sometimes when they're low, that's could be the culprit of why dopamine levels are too high, or norepinephrine, and also serotonin. So that's what that was the main culprit. But I also went did some further testing with him because I wanted to understand a little bit more of the stress too, just to make sure it wasn't just the neurotransmitters. And also he was also feeling tired. So I wanted to like, okay, what's going on here? And that was because we ran his cortisol. So you see his cortisol levels spiked, and that's where you're going to feel more agitated and stressed. But also in the morning and midday, they were low. So it's like, so what do we do here? So 2 things. You use some kind of adrenal desiccated or bovine first thing in the morning. That's what we did with him, in midday, to help improve his cortisol. But then we need to lower it when it's more in the evening time. And that's where we use something like ashwagandha to help lower it. Even rhodiola can help with that when you take it at night. So timing is also really important when it comes to different supplements that you're taking to make them very effective. Otherwise, they can make things worse. Especially, this is why testing is so important, to see where is it up, where is it down, what time of the day. That makes a huge difference in getting results with supplements. This is why people struggle with trying to figure out what are the best supplements for them. But once we implemented that, made all the difference. Not only did he not feel agitated and stressed, but that was gone. He was able to function again. He was able to focus and have that motivation and drive because we targeted the things that were making things worse. And because of that, we start to, with his prescribing doctor, start to lower down his prescriptions, where he eventually didn't have to take medications anymore because it wasn't the right fit for him, because the wrong thing was being addressed with the medications. Okay. This is why it's so important to investigate, to finding out what are the best supplements that are going to help eliminate burnout. And his burnout was gone because we identified the culprit and used that roadmap to help really address it. Okay. Now, let me know in the chat if this is you, if you are scenario number 3. Okay. So I see this a lot too, is where you do have the ADHD burnout. Medications still have not worked for you, but you feel more stressed, but also depressed and tired. So maybe you have some comorbidities of depression and feeling very fatigued. Let me know in the chat if you are scenario number 3. Okay. So if that's you, then you'll definitely want to pay attention because in this situation, this is a lady that came in with having these symptoms of depression, feeling stressed and tired, and the medications wasn't working. And kind of the same scenario with scenario two, but a little bit of difference here is that things were elevated. Even her phenylethylamine levels were elevated, dopamine levels were elevated, um, uh, norepinephrine levels were elevated, but her serotonin levels were low. Okay. So that's what was being really missed, along with also her histamine and taurine levels were low. So when that happens, we had to make some adjustments here. And firstly, is we have to address the serotonin pathway. Okay. So when that's low, it means it's not being targeted. So again, the faucets may be being turned on with medication, but it's not producing the serotonin. So we have to look at, okay, how can we help produce more serotonin? So a few things. One is incorporating 5-HTP, uh, and secondly is supplement of L-tryptophan. Both of those are going to help improve serotonin levels. Okay. So that's what we need to do is we need to add those to producing more serotonin, especially when we see it low, and especially if we're on a medication that's just a stimulant to just turn on the faucet, but not actually produce it. L-theanine is another one. I already mentioned this before, but L-theanine does help improve serotonin levels. B vitamins, she was also very low on lots of different B vitamins, and some of the big ones is vitamin B6 that she was low on, which helps make serotonin, as well as vitamin B3, which helps good modulation with building and breaking down serotonin. And then also her vitamin D levels were low. And so vitamin D is also important for building and modulating serotonin. So it also can contribute to her fatigue situation that she was dealing with. I also wanted to do a little further investigative work of different hormones too, looking at her adrenals because typically that is common. And so you could see right here, her cortisol levels were just low throughout the entire day. So we had to add the adrenal desiccated first thing in the morning and midday to help improve those cortisol. And that helped improve her energy. She didn't feel stressed anymore, and her depression started to dissipate more, which made all the difference because we identified the problem and realized over time she did not necessarily needed the medication. One other thing that we also did find is that it is good to look at other hormones. So her progesterone levels were low and DHEA. So that can contribute to also depression and also feeling fatigued and just feeling having that ADHD burnout. Once we address that, we use the natural progesterone cream and also DHEA. Okay. And that made all the difference for her. She was able to have that clear, focused mind, but just not feeling burnt out anymore, not feeling so depressed and not stressed. So that's really what it takes is really to investigate what is going on. What are the root causes that are contributing? And that's how you know which supplements you can use to eliminate your ADHD burnout. But it requires still investigative work. So if you would like me to order these labs for you to find the root causes of your ADHD burnout, then I'd love to help you out. Because what you can do is you can just book an ADHD focused diagnostic with me, which includes a 45-minute one-on-one one-on-one strategy session with me where we assess the root cause of your focus and motivation issues and also lay out a roadmap of what different high functional lab testing that we need to be implementing to identify the root cause and have an action plan to execute on to eliminate your ADHD burnout and your other ADHD symptoms. So if you'd like to do that, definitely click the link in the description below because I only have 5 slots open next week. So if you want to do that, there's only 5 slots. So you just click on the link in the description below to be able to book that. And thank you guys so much for attending, and I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Thanks. Bye.